There's been a lot happening in the NBA offseason so far this summer, but don't let the calmness of the last few days fool you. There's still a lot more coming. On top of the fact that there are still quite a few highly talented free agents still available on the open market, waiting for the right offer to come their way, there are also still some big names that may hit the trade block very soon and could be moved before you know it. Two of those names just so happen to be some of the biggest names in all of basketball, with rumors indicating that both LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo could still be traded before the start of next season, and Bleacher Report just published an article addressing exactly that. In this article, they proposed 4 hypothetical trade offers featuring these two players that they believe could realistically work out. So, as always, we'll be going through each offer, analyzing whether or not the trades make sense, why or why not the teams involved would want to do the deals, and who benefits the most from them if they were to happen. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first proposal from the article is between the New York Knicks and the Los Angeles Lakers, and it's actually a 1-for-1 swap of Karl-Anthony Towns for LeBron James. They're starting things off in a pretty outlandish note, as this would break the basketball world and generate enough buzz for an entire month. It's very difficult to even try to justify a deal like this for either side at first glance, but according to the article, the logic behind it includes some key factors. For one, the Knicks desperately need another capable ball handler and playmaker, because right now Jalen Brunson has to have the ball in his hands a lot to make things work. They also insinuate that the Knicks may not want to be locked into 3 more years of Karl-Anthony Towns on a supermax contract, and the short-term nature of LeBron's contract may actually intrigue the Knicks, so they can open up more cap flexibility in the coming years. Are those fair points? To a degree, I suppose they are. Does that mean that this trade is one that the Knicks should do? Hell no. This deal would leave the Knicks with Mitchell Robinson as the only playable center left on the roster, and he has not proven to be able to withstand the rigors of an entire NBA season without getting injured yet. So the risk of having no interior presence if he were to go down again would literally just recreate the exact issue that LeBron and the Lakers were dealing with last season after having traded away Anthony Davis. LeBron is a lot of things, but at age 40, he is not playable at the center position. Offensively, the Knicks were also ranked top 5 in the league anyway this past year, so they really have no need to make a trade like this if improving the offense would be the motivation. For the Lakers side of things, they reportedly have a plan to keep as much cap space as possible open for the 2027 offseason in order to spend big and build around Luka Doncic that summer, and this trade would significantly cut into that, with Towns set to make $61 million that year, but at the same time, they may not be able to land anyone as good as Karl-Anthony Towns in that offseason anyway, so I don't really hate it nearly as much for LA. Cat plays a position of need for the Lakers. The combo of him and the elite playmaking talent of Luka Doncic would be nearly unstoppable, and they would be back in the top at no time with a duo like that, but I just can't find any good reason for the Knicks to go through with this. The next proposal from the article is between the Milwaukee Bucks and the San Antonio Spurs, where the Spurs receive Giannis Antetokounmpo in exchange for Harrison Barnes, Dylan Harper, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, 3 first-round picks, and 2 second-round picks. When the Giannis Antetokounmpo rumors first started swirling a few weeks ago, the Spurs were one of the teams immediately linked to him because they've got assets to start the conversation with. The link only grew stronger on the night of the NBA draft lottery, when the Spurs lucked out and shot up the draft board, landing the number 2 pick in the draft, knowing that Dylan Harper is an incredibly valuable young prospect that a rebuilding team would love to bring in and potentially start building around. Any Giannis Antetokounmpo trade would mark the beginning of a Milwaukee Bucks rebuild, which is why the connection makes so much sense. But is this the offer to get a deal across the finish line? Let's take a look. The starting point being Dylan Harper is obviously a strong start, with the point guard position being so critical to success in the modern NBA, and with his all-star caliber upside as a strong-bodied, slashing playmaker, he should be able to handle heavy usage. Jeremy Sohan is also an incredibly intriguing defensive talent who has been experimented with in his time on the Spurs offensively, and while he hasn't quite found his niche that he can hang his hat on yet on the offensive end, he is still also just 22 years old. Keldon Johnson and Harrison Barnes are decent pieces to make the money work in a deal, but the real cherry on top is the draft capital. 3 additional first-round picks is solid, and the 2031 Sacramento Kings first-rounder that's included here could prove to be very valuable, with that team's future very uncertain right now. Pairing Giannis with Victor Wembanyama would genuinely be unfair, and the Spurs would become title contenders immediately with that duo, but I'm also not certain that this is the best offer that the Bucks could get on the open market. If the Spurs were able to add in additional draft capital, or maybe someone like Devin Vassell, I think this is a done deal, but as currently constructed, this looks like a good, not great offer for an MVP caliber player. The next proposal from the article is between the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers, where the Nuggets receive LeBron and Bronny James in exchange for Deron Holmes, Jamal Murray, Peyton Watson, and a pick swap. This is the third time that I've seen a major media outlet suggest the idea of trading Jamal Murray away for LeBron James, so I guess I finally need to tackle this idea head on. The Nuggets are approaching dangerous waters right now after 2 straight years of disappointing playoff exits, and Nikola Jokic just made it clear that he will be waiting a year before he considers signing an extension with the team. Yes, waiting a year allows him to make more money down the line, but you would also be lying to yourself if you don't think he's also waiting to see what the Nuggets do to try to get themselves back on top of the league. Jamal Murray has been Jokic's right-hand man for years, and is a Denver legend for helping the team win it all in 2023, but after once being known as a playoff riser who comes through in the biggest moments, he's failed to do that in 2 playoffs in a row now, and the fact that he really hasn't improved at all as a player over the last 5 years indicates this may be as good as he'll ever be. The Nuggets may not view him as someone capable of being the number 2 on a title team anymore, and with his supermax contract extension about to kick in, they could in theory value the short-term commitment of LeBron James, who is the better player right now, while also giving them more cap flexibility when his contract expires. If LeBron is serious about wanting to maximize the final few years of his career, then playing next to a 3-time MVP who can literally mold his game to the playstyle of anyone he has around him in Nikola Jokic is the best way to prove it. Jokic may be the best player that LeBron will have ever played with in his career, and after the team added guys like Cam Johnson and Bruce Brown back to the rotation, them plus Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon would make an incredible unit on paper. For the Lakers, getting Jamal Murray back knowing how limited their leverage is in trade talks is a home run that they wouldn't think twice about. This is another example of a trade that looks insane at first glance, but I'm honestly surprising myself how on board I would be if this were to happen. Of course, I don't really think the Nuggets front office has the cojones to go through with this, but in theory it would be pretty incredible and entertaining. And finally, the last proposal from the article is between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Atlanta Hawks, where the Hawks receive Giannis Antetokounmpo in exchange for Kobe Buffkin, Jalen Johnson, Zachary Reese-Sachet, a first-round pick, and 2 pick swaps, including the potential to swap the Milwaukee back their own first-round pick in 2026. The fact that the Hawks own Milwaukee's first-round pick for next year makes them an incredibly intriguing, low-key horse in the race for Giannis. The Bucks not being in control of their own first-round pick next year is likely one of the biggest barriers holding them back from embracing a rebuild right now, because all of the losing would be pointless without the possibility of landing a top prospect at the end of it. Especially in a draft class as stacked as the top of the 2026 class is expected to be, the potential of the Hawks giving the Bucks their pick back eliminates that barrier and allows them to go full speed ahead towards their next phase. All of that is great, but I'm still having some some reservations about whether this is enough to actually convince the Bucks to go through it with the rest of the offer. Of course, getting their own first-round pick back would be nice, but the Bucks also seem content to run things back one more year after having signed Miles Turner, and if things crash and burn after this season, Giannis's value is still going to be sky-high next summer too. I don't think they'll rush into a deal just to get a head start on the rebuilding process, and with this trade only including one other first-round pick, it comes in well below market value compared to other superstar trades. Zachary Risache may be a former #1 overall draft pick, but we all know he's not quite on the same level of the other #1 picks in recent years. Jalen Johnson is an outstanding two-way wing who is blossoming into a borderline all-star talent, but after getting shoulder surgery a few months ago, his health concerns knock his value down a peg, and the rest doesn't make up the difference. Dyson Daniels, Kristaps Porzingis, Onyeka Okongwu, and Giannis Antetokounmpo all surrounding Trae Young would more than make up for Young's defensive deficiencies, and there is a clear motivation for the Hawks to join the sweepstakes here, but this also feels like a trade offer that could definitely be beat on the open market. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about these league-altering trade proposals. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.